Welcome to Beers with Bill, show number 41. We welcome back Graham Spence, one of the co-owners of Block 3 in the Village Beer Garden. We're starting with cryotherapy tonight. And Graham, welcome back to the show. I totally appreciate you joining me for my birthday. Cheers.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yeah, when Troy gets on, I can tell him I'm 67 today, okay? Since he's always added 5 years to my birthday.
That's the baby.
Yeah, my 45th birthday, Graham, I kept getting all these happy 50th birthday cards from everybody that I knew. And finally looked over and Troy was sitting over at the corner of the bar going, and realized that he had told everybody I was 50 and that was it. So we just kept going with that after that.
That's funny. Well, I remember we did the t-shirts with you guys for a few years, I think.
Yeah, you did. Appreciated that. So, Graham, you want to talk a little bit about cryotherapy?
Yeah, I mean, I also noticed, I'll just make a note that our head brewer Kevin is on as well.
Yep.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Kevin. Welcome to Beers with Bill.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, feel free to ask like anytime, ask questions all around. But yeah, so I mean, the cryotherapy is just it's a nice easy drinking American pale ale. It's actually the kind of the basis for this recipe was from I don't know if you're familiar with the Beer Wars or whatever, that little event that we were holding at Aber. Yeah, there you go. So it's a beer that we kind of threw together for that, and we really liked it. So then decided to make a full production batch, and it's kind of been our go-to American pale ale ever since, that we kind of rotate in and out. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really nice, a little bit of bitterness, but still really fruit forward and really easy drinking.
Yeah. So it's been almost 6 months since you were last on the show.
I know.
How are you doing?
We're doing all right. I mean, it's getting the January, February is always a slower time. So I think it's just exacerbated more when no one really comes in. So yeah, it's there's some days in January where it was pretty boring.
Yeah, I can well imagine. Yes. Yeah. So last time we talked, you were focusing on the bottle shop. How's that been working out?
Yeah, it's still. I mean, we're still doing that. So it's kind of we got that in our retail store. I mean, we're allowed 10 people inside, so it's not a huge amount. I mean, we kind of still in the same breadth there. For the past couple of months, we weren't really kegging a lot. So when you come in now, there's not as much. There's more choice in the fridge than there is on tap, which is more unusual for us.
Wouldn't that almost be true almost anywhere you go right now, that there'd be more selection?
Oh yeah, I would imagine most places there was no sense in doing. The only kegs we did were stuff that we were drinking. So
yeah,
and we can't drink 12 taps worth of beer as much as we would want to try.
No, I could imagine.
And we did.
And the Village Beer Garden. Now, you guys spent a lot of investment early on, like in this fall last year, for the I got to call it the igloos, but for the outdoor dining areas. Has the Village Beer Garden reopened?
No, it hasn't. It just doesn't make sense with the 10 person limit, and we got with. I think since we talked, the domes were kind of classified as indoor dining, so they still fall under that 10 person limit total.
Yeah. And
yeah, it's a money losing proposition to do that, and takeout's not a big portion of what we would do anyway. So.
No, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna drive to St. Jacobs, you're gonna go to Block 3 to get the beer, right?
Yeah, and you're not driving up to St. Jacobs to go grab takeout. You're gonna go grab somewhere in Kitchener-Waterloo. So.
Yeah, I hear you.
Troy, good to see you.
And I'll throw this question to both you and Kevin. All the things that have gone on over the last 6 months, how do you stay grounded?
Kevo, you want to
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. We've definitely since the beginning of Block 3 just kind of been doing things that interest us. And I guess with everything that's been going on over the last year and definitely with the winter and the slowdown and stuff, it's just like it's given us a little bit of time to reflect a little bit and think about how we want to progress moving into the summer and what kind of like we're lucky to be small enough to pivot and see how that's going to look as a business. But even then, just like what really do we want to do in beer, and how does that want to look? How does our tap room want to look? We're still big proponent of like tap room culture and like bar culture and things like that. So we stay grounded because we're in our community, right? And we just want to be part of our community and see what that looks like later. It's still crazy. It's still up in the air. We're still figuring everything out day by day, but we stay grounded because we have a very large community support, I guess.
Yeah, and along those lines, I think it's more, we're as much as we can, we try to make it fun to still show up to work every day, right? Even if we don't have many people coming through the door, it's still a fun environment for us to go get out of the house.
Yeah, and even just doing like stupid stuff, like like we had a little chili cook-off with the staff. Things like that are kind of fun for us, and just
golden tea tournament.
Yeah, little golden tea game. Yeah, just dumb stuff to keep us entertained while we wait for this all to blow over, right?
So, what's been the biggest challenge over the last 6 months for both of you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I think the biggest challenge is I don't know. I mean, it's tough when you're like we both think we both have young families, like young kids, and I think from that personal side, for me anyway, it's tough when you want them to go out and be able to experience things even at a young age, and I think that's tough. It's like we're I was saying the other day, like I don't think I've left Waterloo Region. I've left Waterloo Region like 3 times in the past year, and those were to drop off beer at a place in Toronto. Like, and I was literally there and then back, and then I haven't left the region since. Like, that's like the 401 doesn't even exist in my repertoire anymore, and I live literally right near it. So it's I think like just that that kind of aspect is kind of it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, and then in terms of the business, like I'm a production guy, I'm like a logistics guy, and then basically any sort of roadmap we had has just been totally thrown out the window, and we're kind of just working on a week-to-week basis, and that's just been like a huge stressor. But I think, like I said, we're small enough that we can kind of pivot and make it work. But we're like daily reevaluating what's going on. Yeah, it's been fun, guys.
So, Kevin, how do you guys decide what new beers to try right now in this environment?
Yeah, that's like a that it's a bit of like what we like. It's a bit of what we've tried from other places or other breweries, and then a little bit of just like, especially when it comes to like the fickle and the fruited variants of fickle, what sort of like flavor combinations we've tried. They're maybe not exactly beers, but like you try a soda or like an ice cream or whatever, like a Thai curry or something, and you're just like, man, these flavors would work together really well. And then some of it honestly is just like what the market drives. There are beers that we make that we don't necessarily drink every day. or even every month, but we make them because people ask for them, right? I'm not a big like stout porter kind of guy, but we have stouts and porters on right now because it's the season and people really want to drink that. So we make them.
Okay. What's been the best change because of COVID for Block 3 and for yourselves?
You want the honest answer? No,
Well, go for it.
Yeah, give me the honest answer.
no. I think sometimes it's and this is no offense to anyone on here, but because you're all our customers, but sometimes it's nice not dealing with people from the retail standpoint, and then even the going out and trying to slog kegs to bars and restaurants. Like, yeah, I mean, Bill and Troy, you guys would both know, like, I suck at sales, and like, I'm kind of like I'm not a big talker, right? I'm more of a take it and leave it kind of guy, and so like I always know that that's one of my weak points, but so it's kind of been nice not having to go do like hustle and try to move kegs, right?
So, Bill, Graham, is there any direction from the government right now about this summer coming up where obviously people are going to be a little more free to move out, but not everybody's going to be inoculated? Like, is there any direction, or are they just saying we're just going to go with the old business as usual with no vision?
It's the same as, yeah, I mean, really like we might hear like a little bit of headwind like a couple hours before it gets put out, but personally I would imagine they're gonna they have no road plan or roadmap or game plan. I would imagine it's probably going to be run similar to last year, and like they're throwing money around like it's the joke about your parents always telling you that there's a money tree out back for when you're asking for all these toys. Like the government's found that money tree somehow, and they're just it's free for the picking. It's crazy. So yeah, I mean, I think they'll run the same kind of roadmap of increased distancing, but the patios will be popular. There probably won't be as much indoor dining, or the indoor dining will be limited. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really see like the indoor dining being back to like normal, like as it were pre-COVID by this summer. Like that's just not going to happen, right?
So Troy, you made a really good call not keeping that lease going.
No, he didn't.
Still hurts.
I know it does. I mean, like I've said on the other ones that we've done, that was my favorite bar in town, right? It was not pretentious. It was just good beer, good people, and it sucks that it's gone. But I mean, at the end of the day, you've made a decision that made sense to you, right? So
Was not taken lightly, everybody.
no,
just
of
so you
course,
know.
but and probably, I mean, if you had back then, if you were making that decision and someone said to you, "Hey, this is going to go on for over a year," you would have been like, that decision would have been way easier.
That did play into it. No
Yeah.
students until the 1st of January. Nah.
Yeah.
If you ever want back in, it should be rock bottom rent for a bit, I would think.
Nope.
No?
Not yet. And now let me get back to my guest, Derek.
Has anyone taken the spot or still?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, they have.
So, Graham, which beer are we
Yep.
going to try next?
Next, I think let's go the porter route. Let's go the porter route, and then we'll save the 2 barrel aged ones for after.
Okay. Kevin, you said porter's not necessarily your favorite style of beer.
Yeah, it's just like I'm not into that kind of roasty coffee thing in beers. Like you know, I don't drink coffee every day. It's just not something I want in a beer necessarily. But we're kind of cursed in this region that our water is perfect for making these styles of beers. And water chemistry makes a huge difference on beer. So when we make them, they always turn out pretty good and they always sell really well, but it's my show. So I don't make them all the time.
No, I totally appreciate that. That it's not your style. You've done a nice job with this one,
Thank you.
and do you wanna describe it for us
Yeah,
or
so
talk a little bit about it?
we're just doing the straight up porter, right? We didn't do the
Yeah,
coffee
yeah.
one. Yeah, okay. That's the one I have right here. So it's kind of a riff on various porters we've done before. You get you definitely get some roast, but there's a little more kind of underlying caramel, a little bit of like fruity character from it from the yeast. It's not dry, it's not sweet, it's just kind of in the middle. And then 6%, I mean, it's a little bit bigger than maybe historically would have been accurate, but that's got to give the people what they want sometimes. I just think it's like a really nice, it's a good food beer for sure. Like it's something that you can have with like a richer meal that we would have these, in winter and how cold it's been for the last couple of weeks. Like I'm proud of it. It's just that I've probably had maybe 2 cans of this since we packaged it total. And that's a stretch.
So, what is your favorite style?
I definitely I love our Hellas. Like that's one that I'm super proud of. That's the one we drink the most of. And then I love like little kind of lightly sour mixed firm like saison kind of stuff. And I think that comes through in like our barrel things, and our oak age sour stuff. That's where a lot of my energy goes, even though it's not a lot of our volume, I guess.
Yeah. So, Mike has an interesting question for you. You alluded to water. He wants to know if you do anything to the water, or are you just using straight up water that comes right out of the tap?
Yeah, so we filter it to remove like the chlorines and that kind of stuff. But we don't like break it down to RO or like distilled water or anything. And then for pale beers, because we have very alkaline and very hard water in this region, we'll acidify the water. Just that's like a mash pH thing. That's like a science and enzyme, and that's my job kind of thing. But for the most part, for like something like the porter, it's the roasted grains will acidify the water enough that we don't have to worry about that. And they kind of buffer against the acidity of these like roasted grains, so you don't get that like acrid ashtray thing. So yeah, great water for making porters and stouts. Not so good for making something like an IPA or like a pale lager, which are stuff that I definitely like more. So that takes a little bit of more work on my end.
You answered the question I was going to ask you, because pilsners are and pale lagers are really fussy about water, and that's
Yeah, if we had the time and the resources to like break down our water to like nothing, then rebuild it per style, I would love to do that. We aren't quite there yet.
Graham. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a kind of like, we'll go back to the beer. Like I'm in a similar boat to Kevin. It's, I don't generally reach for darker beers, unless they're in the Belgian style. Then I will reach for those. But yeah, like I mean, I think we do make a nice like stout and porter. And like I like this one. It's got the same like that, it's smooth. It's got that nice like chocolatey, roastiness to it, but not like overly bitter. And yeah, I think it's just it's a good beer.
What do you see that's new and exciting happening in the craft beer industry right now?
I think so. I mean, what we kind of we put one in for ourselves is kind of more traditional like European side pull tap for lagers. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like more just explore it, like how to like I think we do a good job of producing the beers and then it just getting that experience to the customer. So we've how do you get that beer garden experience, like that European beer garden experience in North America? And I think most of the time you go to a bar, and I'm sure you've had people they complain if there's this much head on there, they want that beer filled up to the top. And so I think there's we got to do some more educating, and so like and then explaining to them and telling them why this is why we're doing this. This is this is the difference. So like we've got our one tap of the Hellas that was poured off a regular standard tap, and then one through the side pull, and then it's so we can here's the difference. You can try them, you can taste them, and then you can choose whichever one you like, right? So
Yeah, to elaborate what on Graham was saying, the niche portion of it, right? Like now there's so many breweries and like craft beers kind of become a big enough thing that you can just focus on a certain niche, and that might be just British style cask bitter, that might be German lager, that might be specifically barrel aged sour beers. You can do that and you can have a business from it, and have a successful business from it, hopefully. And that's kind of one of the exciting things about beer for me. I might not love specifically the British cask beer, but I there is a place for every drinker right now, and that's really exciting for me.
There is, that's for sure. Shiraj brings up an interesting question. He was wondering if you would touch a little bit more on the seasonality of your selecting styles of beer.
yeah, I mean,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Graham.
yeah, I think for we kind of I mean, like Kevin did allude to it earlier, like we most of the stuff we brew is kind of stuff that we want to drink, but we recognize that other people, like we're not the only people that drink beer. So when we're thinking about like when we would drink a dark beer, it's usually in the winter when it's colder, and that kind of thing. And then for we'll, in the summer, and we'll kind of lean towards more sessionable, like lower alcohol beers that you can maybe have. You're hanging out with friends, you're sitting outside, so you're able to have more than one or two, and that we kind of gauge off of some of those things as well.
Yeah, we have a basic rule in the summer that like nothing's over 6.5%, and that's just more or less a guideline. It's just 6.5%. You got your IPA, you got your pale ales, you got our saison, obviously, your Hellas. But like most people don't want to drink the 8%, Belgian double or whatever in the summer.
Or
So
our 10% Belgian bottle, though we would try.
we will give it our best shot. But yeah, we have these like kind of minor guidelines, and then when it comes to things like fruit for fickle, like sometimes that's literally just throwing a dart at the board. Like we're just looking at what's available. Sure, take that. We'll take that. We'll take that. We'll try to make up some interesting, mixes. And then for like the oak aged sour stuff, that I like to use Ontario grown fruit, which this year was a bit of a washout for that. But if it's available, I'll take it. If anyone knows any farmers, tell them to talk to me.
So Graham, what's your favorite style of beer?
I'm in the same kind of boat as Kevin. I'm right now. I mean, and it's funny as myself, like on the kind of the journey, if you will, of when we started, I probably would never have told you that I would have drank an IPA or pale ale, because I wouldn't have. And now, so I'm in more of like I've seen the transition myself. So I probably went from there when we started. It was like the saisons, the stouts and porters. And then, when we were starting into the barrel aged stuff, I was kind of really into, the barrel aged sours, saisons, and then, I'm kind of, and then Belgian styles as well. And then now kind of more transitioning to, I'm really liking like the Helles and the, pale ales myself.
Can you share with us what's coming up next for the brewery?
Yeah, I think, one of the beers that we're trying tonight is the Spontaneous. So that's not yet released. So we've got that kind of waiting to go. And then we've got the Yarmir, the Czech Pilsner, Cathedral, it's our Belgian IPA, more Helles, more Village Lager.
Yeah, we got we did a little blend with Blood Brothers.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of a cool thing, just like blending each of our mixed cultures and seeing what comes out of that, just trying to be creative with all of our spare time right now.
Well, you get your Saison DCM as well.
Oh yeah, because I recently celebrated 10 years brewing professionally. So me and a friend, Victor North, who now teaches at Niagara College's brewing program, we made a 10% alcohol saison with 10 different spices in it. So that's ready to go. Yeah, we just gotta can it. That's a stupid idea.
Well, Kevin, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started brewing when I was 23. Look at me.
Well, I do
Getting
have to
old.
say, Kevin and Graham, the one thing that I always appreciated about Block 3 was the consistency of the beer, because I could always tell, even if it was sort of blind tasting, if I was drinking a Block 3. You guys have done a great job of having an identifiable style and consistency.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't know if we're doing anything in particular to promote that. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and I have standards. We all have standards, but like, I just think we have like a really good team that's really locked in, and we know what we strive for in a beer. And like, even if it's like an IPA versus our lager versus our barrel aged beers, like, it's going to be like clean and fresh and bright is something I really talk about a lot, is like bright flavors. It just makes it a little more drinkable. And yeah, I think we just like cultivated a company culture where we all kind of are focused on the same goal.
Yeah, and I think that there's kind of the three main, like me, yourself, and James, that have kind of been there, and kind of we all have similar styles and are into similar beers as well. So kind of melds that way. So yeah, I think I don't think I don't think you're gonna see like the slushy beers or those kind of things coming out of Block 3 anytime soon.
Yeah. we're not built for that, right?
No.
We're bigger, and bigger's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just like I can't in good conscience package a bunch of unfermented fruit into a can and then send out 2,000 liters of it to just into the world and see what happens. Like that,
and pray that it doesn't blow up.
Yeah, that morally feels weird.
I hear you. Which beer are we going to try next?
I was thinking we would go for the Wish You Were Here.
Wish You Were Here. Okay.
Yeah, so it's our little, it's like a Brett Saison. We did a virtual collab with our forgot that I shook it when I was lifting it. It's with our friends at Two Crows. out in Halifax. So yeah, this was I think brewed what, like 6 to 8 months ago, Kevo?
Yeah, it was pretty early in the thing because like in the lockdown, sorry, because we normally like we try to go out there once a year. Like they come here, we go out there. We've made very good friends with Two Crows, and we couldn't obviously this year, so we kind of got onto this, and I think it was like pretty early on because we were expecting this would end at some point. Um, but yeah, just like Jeremy is the head brewer, brewmaster, whatever you want to call it, and then Miles and Graham are their other two brewers there, and we all just kind of have this affinity for like low ABV, funky, like bitter farmhouse kind of beers. And I think this hits it, man. This hits every mark for me. Like this is like the beer I want to drink most often.
What
Yeah,
is
it's
it-
got really.
No, go ahead, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gets like on the nose. It's like really fruity, like pineapple, like passion fruit, like just super fruity. And then when you drink it, it's got like a little bit of grassiness, a little bit of bitterness, but then again, like that really big fruitiness with a little like that funkiness from a saison. So I mean, to me, yeah, it's like really nice, really easy drinking. It's interesting.
You got that.
Yeah, you
I
can
was
sit.
trying
You
to
can
pick
sit
the
down
passion fruit.
and talk about this one, or you can not talk about it. Like it's like you can either crush it or you can sit there and dissect it. I love it.
What is the most what is it about this that you love the most?
I mean, I would say kind of just what I was saying, right? Like you can sit here and the beer geeks can discuss like the various flavors and as it warms up and blah blah blah. Or you know what, you can just drink it and not have to worry too much about it. And like I love Terrace Bulba from De La Seine, Brasserie De La Seine.
That's out of Belgium, just so.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
They're
is
out of
kinda-
Brussels. You can sometimes get Terrace Bulba through the LCBO. Yeah, it's again like super nice, easy drinking saison.
Yeah, this is kind of like our take on that. It's definitely more sour and more funky, but it's like our take on that plus the Belgian lambic beers, I guess.
Yeah, like this is, I think the yeast here is Brett Dre, if I'm correct.
Our version was whatever the hell's in our fooder these days.
Yeah,
The Two Crows version, I'm sure they pitched something very specific because they're like that.
So how does a virtual collaboration work?
Yeah, this was just like a lot of emailing. Like I probably talk to them, like email or message them on Instagram generally like once a week, right? They're just friends. Like we just chat about what beer stuff's going on and what's like interesting to us. And oh, cool, you posted that photo and that looks great. And how'd you use those hops or whatever? Which is actually how we met Two Crows. I just was like, cool, you guys like fooders, you guys like barrels, you should come by and make a beer. And then they were like, cool, we'll book a plane right now. Okay, done. Now we're friends. So the virtual collab thing was just we can't get together to do like our yearly collab. So we will kind of both make the same recipe and then kind of plan around a rough release date. And yeah, and now here we are because they just had their 4th anniversary. So we kind of timed it around that, and our version's way better than theirs, but
it's true.
Did you guys like trade beer back?
We did,
Oh,
yeah. I was gonna go grab one. I got a can upstairs of theirs, but
yeah, we trade beer with them probably like every month and like
Yeah.
stupid like I love you notes or whatever. Yeah.
So Tony asked an interesting question for you. How has COVID changed or affected your barrel aging program?
I don't think. I mean, I don't think necessarily think it was COVID. I think like we have a pretty robust barrel aging program right now, but I think we kind of came to the realization that it's a pretty niche market, like, or niche category. So within the past like 2 years, we've seen just in our region alone, maybe 3, let's say, Short Finger, Reverence Barrel Works. Then, I mean, if you go to Ottawa, there's Small Pony, and I'm sure there's other barrel only brewer. I mean, I get what's that one? I'm gonna Half Hours on Earth. So like, there's a bunch of barrel only breweries out there, and I think it's just it's such a small segment of that market that we'll continue doing barrel beers, probably more in line with what we're going to try next, the spontaneous, and then I mean even this too, because we've got our foeder still. But I think we'll definitely start paring down some of our, like, I think right now we've got about 120 to 140 barrels. So we'll be paring that down over the next couple months.
Yeah, COVID had some interesting effects where it like pushed everything a little bit. Like it pushed everything a little bit later. Especially at the beginning, like we had some plans and then everything fell apart. And then fruit was really, really hard to get. You can't get the workers to come up. Now the fruit's like super expensive, or it's all already allocated to the grocery stores or Loblaws, theirs or whatever. Like the farmers were planting less than half of what they normally did. So things like that, like there's these weird ripple effects, and then it just made it kind of easier to kind of just put that on pause for a little bit, and we'll get back to it. We still like those things, but like Graham was saying, it's such a small portion. It seems like something like we're known for that, but it's such a small portion of what we do. It's kind of just better to put it on pause for a little bit, and then we'll get back to it.
Okay. Who's doing the artwork for your labels?
Name's Mike Palmer. He's actually the creative director at the marketing agency right next door to us, Corey Communications.
Okay. So Graham, who's your role model?
Are you asking like 10-year-old Graham, or 10-year-old Graham would say Wendell Clark or Felix Potvin, but
I like that answer. That's great.
Yeah.
Exactly what it should be when you're 10 years old and playing.
Well, I know. I've got I think the last time we did the call, I was telling you that I was playing mini sticks with my 3-year-old, and he's got these little figurines, and I made sure that Wendell Clark's one of them. He's got the number 17 on the back. That's all that matters. No, I think I don't know. I mean, it's tough. In terms of the business side of it, things. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely. I value my parents would be one of them. I value their opinion, although they did tell me that starting a brewery was a terrible idea and that I should never do it. And I still remember that to this day. I remember when we were starting this out, and when I told them that we were starting the brewery, my mom called me and told me how sick to her stomach she was feeling, that I was just gonna piss away the savings, and that was tough. Like, that was really, really hard to hear, right? And I did get the kind of gratification of an apology 3 years later, which and with them telling me I was right, which was the first. So
My mom always said to me, Why can't you just go get a real job like everybody else and work 9 to 5?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's tough, right? Like well, if there's, and that's what my mom was in, that kind of mindset as well. I think, she'd always worked for an accounting firm and always did the grind, and I did that as well, and it sucked. Like, I didn't want to sit there and do that anymore. It didn't make sense to me. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's tough when that happens, but at least they had the wherewithal to come around a little bit. So,
Well, that's good. Kevin, how about you?
Yeah. So like, I mean, you spend 10 minutes with me and you'll hear my backstory about being a former musician. So I definitely learned a lot of the grind, I guess, from being a musician. Like I studied jazz bass in college, so I just like that, always striving to be a little bit better than you are right now. Like, have fun with what you're doing at the moment, be good with what you're doing at the moment, and be proud of what you're doing, but always like search a little bit better. So while listening to someone like Coltrane might not be directly, related to beer, that drive and that never really settling and always wanted to kind of like improve your craft. Like I kind of got that from being a musician. I hope that makes sense. Like,
It makes perfect sense.
I just always want to yeah, I just want to explore what we can do in this space, and maybe what I can do in this space, and maybe what my part is just having a successful business that employs people that are really happy working there, and that, to me, that sounds like success.
and I think I mentioned it on before too, like in what Kevin's saying, like, we're always striving to be better, and I don't think we're ever satisfied. Like our King Street recipe has changed multiple times over the years, right? You need to kind of do that to refresh it and kind of keep it current and not stale. And I mean, we're always kind of tweaking things to kind of get a better, in our mind, better product out there.
Which one of you want to talk to me about the spontaneous batch?
Oh, we're going for that? Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh, you.
that pours nicely.
I guess I'll start.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
that's
for it.
probably maybe a little lively at the moment. Yeah, mine's been
Yeah,
sitting
it
out
is.
for a bit, but so spontaneous beer, for anyone who's not aware of this, we take the beer, we boil it, or I shouldn't say we boil it as normal. From the get-go, we're using all Ontario ingredients. We're using all Ontario malt from Barn Owl Malt. You can even trace it back directly to the farm where it comes from, which is super cool for me. So this is Pilsner malt and raw wheat. And then we do a very complicated mash process called a turbid mash that goes through like different steps, targeting different enzymes, and then pulling a small portion off to the side, keeping that boiling so none of the starches convert, because we want that starch to feed the bacteria for years to come. We boil it for 3 hours generally, and then use aged Ontario hops, which smell absolutely terrible.
Cheese, like
not
cheese.
that they don't smell terrible at the beginning. They probably smelled great, but yeah, we keep them warm. Like, I just basically stab the bag we get with like a pen and like let all this air come in and make these hops. Like, it's like you do everything wrong that you learn in brewing school, and this is how you make spontaneous beer. So then we cool it out. I'm doing air quotes. No one can see that because it's a podcast. We cool it out into the cool ship, which we just put outside on our loading dock. And it's a large flat vessel with lots of surface area. And then it goes from boiling to roughly room temperature overnight. And part of that is it's bringing in yeast and bacteria from the air. And then that will inoculate the wort and have it start fermenting. That then goes into barrels. It ferments in the barrels. We age it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, blend it. Some of them come out terrible. Some of them come out great. This one happened to come out great. And then I was talking earlier about how we really didn't get a lot of fruit this year, but we did have a family hookup with one of our employees, Chris. One of his family members has a vineyard, and they said, "Hey, we got a couple 100 pounds of grapes for you guys." So this is actually our first blend to come out of this program over the last 3 years. And what are they called? Vidal Blanc grapes. Yeah, I'm not huge on my grape varieties. Yeah, I think it added this like kind of tannic character, funky, acidic, definitely, very drinkable. It's just crazy to me that it's like leaving a just vat of sugar water out, and then it turned into something super drinkable.
Yeah, and then if you're termed like the kind of more popular spontaneous or famous spontaneous beers that you would would know are like most likely lambic. So like this is a similar style to what like Cantillon or Dre Fontaine. Now this isn't lambic because it's like kind of like wine, whereas lambic is only produced in that region. But it's kind of like our little take on that, if you will.
I find it interesting. You can definitely taste the grape in it.
Yeah. The grape, we aged on grapes for a pretty short amount of time. It was only like a month. And like those were like, we got grapes and we just like hand crushed them with like, it wasn't a mallet, but you can imagine us just standing around and mashing these grapes out with with like a shovel, basically. But yeah, it lower contact time, less tannins, more just grape flavor.
That's also one of the questions there was about how repeatable this beer would
Yep.
be, and to be honest, it's not like if that's it's whatever yeast is in the air, really. Like it's and then that can change from based on the temperature, based on the time of year, day to day, which is why we've had some batches that were garbage and need to get dumped, and some that turn out that could be sold as beer, right? So
yeah, we have ones that are like 3 weeks apart that it just got too hot and it just got mold instead of yeast, right? Like you got to dump beer to make good beer.
Yeah. So, any particular style of barrel you use, or just any barrel?
at this
All
point,
of
they'd
our
be
barrels. Sorry, they're all wine barrels. All of our
All
barrels
wine
are wine
barrels.
barrels.
but at this point they'd be mostly neutral, right? So we've already used them for like a wine or like a barrel, another barrel aged sour with that wine characteristic, and then once they're more neutral, then
Okay.
we'll use them for the spontaneous.
Yeah. We strip like kind of the wine, like whatever Sauvignon Blanc or whatever character from it. Usually the first run, and then the second run's a little more subtle, and then by the third or fourth, they're just like a vessel for holding liquid and like a little bit of oak tannin at that point.
So you're not hiring coopers to take your barrel apart and skimming them like you do in the wine industry yet, eh?
No.
No. Yeah, I mean, barrels are it's actually really easy to get barrels in this region. Like wine barrels are super cheap. Like it's crazy. And I have driven to Kentucky and gotten oak barrels, like bourbon barrels or whatever. Also very, very easy to come by, but those have become a little more hype now with kind of the
Well, and the distilleries and like you can only use them once in bourbon, right? So
yeah, and then a lot of them get sold to Scotland to get used in Scotch.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's become different, but like finding old wine barrels, super easy.
Yeah, that's another question was kind of like about the how do the barrels become neutral? So if you think like, I mean, I guess what's an easy
I think about it like a tea bag.
like a tea, yeah, like that's how I was gonna go as well.
Because we both drink tea. But yeah, you soak the tea leaves the first time and you get like this big strong character from them, and you want to soak it very quickly. You don't want to have this like kind of long thing. You don't want to pull too much tannins from them. And then maybe you want to do a second one later in the day, and like maybe you can let that sit a little bit longer. You know, it's not as tannic, but you're still gonna get some of the character. But then you're getting into the third and fourth, and you're getting nothing. You're just getting, green leafy matter, but all the
More
flavors.
bitter, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, the question there about the barrels being sent to or Scotch being aged in used barrels. Yeah, I mean most of the time
Yeah,
Scotch is
100%
aged.
it
They're I think never in fresh barrels.
A very tiny
Like, that would
percentage
be-
get fresh barrel.
Yeah, right. Like you
That
might.
would be like an artisanal product. Yeah.
Yeah, because you kind of want that other background note, right? Otherwise, you're going to get just like, I think with that, like that strength, that proof that they're putting in there, you're just going to be stripping oak. It'd be like a oak. Might as well just go take a bite of a oak tree. Oof.
In answer to your question, Sarah, almost indefinitely, because you can take them apart, skin them on the inside to produce new oak, and then put them back together. That's what coopers do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Now,
that's
I mean,
a different thing with like oak barrels is like bourbon barrels are kind of only really made to be used once, because bourbon is only used in new oak barrels. But like wine barrels, their staves are a lot thicker. Cognac barrels, their staves are a lot thicker. You can kind of cooper them back down and keep reusing them for years and years and years.
I mean, if you go to some distilleries there, they've got barrels that are probably, well, I mean, like the minimums for some of them would be 25 years, right? That
Yeah, the joke is that like a distiller gets to like make one decision in their life.
Yeah. There's a little bit of truth to that, Kevin.
Yeah.
But
winemakers are like, they get to choose, does it go into a barrel or not? And then brewers have to do this like every day.
Oh wow, Derek! Now we're getting way off the beaten path. A brand new wine oak barrel can be $1,800 or more, depending on where the oak is from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will be honest, we've never bought a brand new oak barrel.
Why would you?
No, we don't want that, right? So we want that wine characteristic, and then even and as we're like when they're becoming neutral, like if you get a fresh oak barrel, it's going to be, like I said, an oak bomb in there, right? So as you use it, so if it's used for wine, like a good wine producer might use it once. Some other ones might use it twice, and then they look to get rid of it, and we'll take them and we can use it, 2 or 3 times before it becomes neutral, and then you're not getting any of the oak characteristics, or is not as much oak characteristic. You'll still get a little bit, but it's not going to be like that big woodiness in your mouth.
Now, what's it cost to strip it down though, and then rebuild it with kind of the fresh oak inside?
So I mean, for them to do it, we've never had it done, but I bought barrels from guys that have done it. What happens is they'll take the head off, and it's really just charring the inside.
Oh, okay.
I think. Yeah, they'll strip it. It's I don't think it is that. I mean, there is some labor to it, but like, a barrel done like that, you might be able to buy for like $1,000 instead of 1,800.
Okay. And then what's like a used barrel worth then, if you get it from the winery, or
$150?
Oh, okay, so massive depreciation then.
Yeah. If you buy like a truckload of wine barrels from California, you can get them for like $90 each.
Oh wow, okay.
But that you're buying like 400.
Yeah.
Well, you get 14 for the
whiskey
cost of
barrels
the
would
two
be
ones. That's not bad. 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. That's interesting.
Someone asked where typically we're buying them from. Like most of ours are Niagara. We do have a couple California wines barrels.
Yeah.
We do have a couple just unknown variety wine barrels, but some French stuff.
Yeah, I'd say 90% of them are Ontario.
Yeah.
And most of
Yeah,
them
we got a
from
couple
either
Stratus
Jackson
stuff.
Triggs or Stratus.
Yeah, a lot of Stratus stuff.
Yeah. We have
So
a
great.
few Opus 1 in there, I think, from California. Those were the original ones, I think.
Right.
And you would use them how many times? Forever?
Some
mean-
of them, yeah, some of them we've used up to like 5 times. Yeah. In my tenure there, like I've worked at Block 3 for 5 years, so maybe we're flipping them once a year. So I think our oldest are probably like 6 years old, but we've used them 4 times during that 6 years, and now they're on their way out. They might not hold liquid anymore. They might not be giving us the flavor we want anymore. So we're actually probably getting rid of a bunch of our barrels, moving on.
So what do you think through COVID, what do you think the craft beer industry's done right?
I think the local delivery thing, like that's a, a good positive. I think one of the things that we could do better with that is, work together to lessen, like, and we've done this a few times where, there was a brewery in London that was coming out here to do a Kitchener-Waterloo run. And we said to them and said, you guys going around dropping all your beer off Kitchener-Waterloo, drop it off at our place. We'll add it to our delivery run. And then we'll offer free delivery in London, and then you guys take it for us, right? So, like, I think there's, like, and it was weird because we talked about this, and for us, it made so much sense. But I think, when I was talking to these other guys, it was like, it took them, like, they didn't quite get it, right? And I get it, because you're like, you're running this thing, and you've got to be an expert in logistics, an expert in brewing, an expert in marketing, an expert in accounting, payroll, like, or human resources, right? Like, you got to have all these skill sets. So, I think there's like I think I've mentioned this before, but like an opportunity to, like, think outside the box and work together more to make stuff more accessible to the customer.
I got to catch one question here. I missed it earlier on. And that is, if you were to take one calculated risk this year, what would it be? Which is not fair, by the way, because you're taking calculated risks almost every day.
Yeah.
I think the kind of what Graham was just saying, the teaming up with other breweries, like, what other industry are you like, hey man, we'll distribute your product for you? Like, that's weird, right? That's weird. And that's something that you only really see in craft beer. Like, we're just willing to say, hey, Storm State in particular, you guys come out here, you drop all your deliveries off for us, and we will deliver them for you. And then maybe we get some orders in London where we don't really have a huge brand presence, and then you can deliver that for us. Like, that's weird. That's weird if you think about it from a business perspective. We're helping our competitors sell beer in our market, but that's craft beer, man.
Yeah, I think calculated risk. I think the summer will be very busy for like outdoor patios. Like, I think I mentioned that before. I think so. If, like, a calculated risk for us would be kind of we'll be we put up a little shoddy thing last summer in the front of our parking lot. I don't know if any of you saw it, but it was pretty ghetto. So I think we'll be kind of investing a little bit in that, trying to make that a little bit more uh, nicer looking, friendlier, not just roped off barrels that are roped off with a yellow rope. But I think that's like just kind of looking to kind of expand on that.
Sarah was curious what you do with your, what are you planning on doing with your spent barrels, the ones you're not going to use anymore?
They're available for people if they want them. Yeah, we've been we've had a few people come in, and I think we had 4 or 5 available, and like there's a couple guys in town that were looking for them, so just kind of selling them off to them as they want.
Yeah,
planters. There's a
they don't hold liquid. Like these are not.
yeah. You don't want to be. Yeah, you're not going to be homebrewing into them. But yeah, planters. I've seen some people doing like
Chairs.
chairs, like yeah. There's a ton of cool stuff you can do with them, and like they're still good for like for the aesthetic side of it, but just for holding liquid, it's not ideal.
So we've pretty well used up our hour right now. So I want to.
Is that all you got?
No, I've got lots of time. That's what I was going to ask. If you and Kevin have willing to stay on a little bit longer and chat a little bit longer with everybody on the record.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know if you noticed Cam's comment about using the Dead Now in his version of Belgian stew.
Oh yeah. Well, I know. I mean, I've known Cam for a long time, and Cam's a big. Cam, put your camera on here. Come on. Cam's a big lover of like the big Belgians that we do, like the quad and the Dead Now. So yeah, it's oh, that's okay. Don't keep your camera off then. No, I think I mean those beers aren't really nice for that, like to make for cooking and that kind of thing. So
yeah, one of the biggest compliments we ever got was going over to Belgium and the Netherlands and selling some beer there and being at a beer festival and having the locals like taste, which is weird. I'll get into this in a second. But anyways, they were tasting our beer and they're like, yeah, this is really good. This tastes like the stuff we have. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of what we were going for. Like it felt good to have Belgian people say, yeah, this tastes good.
I'll be right back in 1 second.
Whenever we get German tourists in that try our lagers and they're like, wow, this is really good. And I'm like, yeah, man, thank you, But the weird thing about going over to Belgium for a beer festival and the Netherlands is like every brewery there just makes IPA. Like they make North American style beers because that's what they want, and that they can't get it. And then you're like at a bar and they're like, yeah, try this like Stone IPA, and it's like super old because it's traveled from California all the way to the Netherlands. You're like, wow, this sucks.
Yes. So, Kevin, you alluded to being a musician. What style of music?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm kind of all over the place, man. I came up on like punk and stuff as you do as a teenager, as an angsty teenager. But yeah, I studied jazz bass in college, and then yeah, there's everything, man. I listen to a lot of pop music right now. And just kind of being more into like composing. I wish I could like pick up my computer and show you. Like I'm basically sitting in my recording studio in my house. But yeah, like definitely jazz or jazz focused stuff. I don't know, whatever speaks that musical language that just keeps me going, right?
Which instruments do you play?
Bass was my main instrument, and then guitar as an extension of that. And then we had to take piano in college, so I'm an okay piano player. I'm not great. I'm not going to be playing any sort of like Bartok, some like dual hand piano, whatever. We call it like a ranging piano. You can't play chords on a bass, so you
Okay.
kind of have to learn to play piano.
That must have been interesting to take up piano in college.
Yeah, if you didn't have grade 2 Royal Conservatory, you had to take like piano for adults.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I understand the harmony, I understand the function. I'm just not a very technical player on the piano. I make a lot of like stupid hip hop beats. If anyone wants to check that out, go to my Instagram.
That's good. Well, there's a lot of people in the craft beer industry involved that got their start in the music industry. I'm really surprised by that.
Yeah, there's some really actually great musicians that now just make beer for a living, like Steve, who owns Bose.
Yeah.
Steve Beauchesne, who owns Bose. His punk band Audio Visceral is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I saw them open for DOA at a bar in Guelph, which was amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's people out there. There's some good musicians out there that are playing in bands and still making beer as their day job, which is kind of how I fell into it.
Yeah. Why is that?
For me, it was just like I needed a job, man. Like I needed something to pay the bills. I was doing okay.
Cruise
as a
ship wasn't
musician.
doing
I
it
was
for you,
doing well.
Kevin?
Yeah, the cruise ship gig was not great. I was doing okay with the like local theater, like the pit band thing, right? Like, I'm the guy playing bass in the band for whatever show.
I mean, I'm not going to answer for you, but I'm going to just throw my thoughts on this. But I think the problem is that like people, like you go to places and if there's like people don't pay for live music. They'll pay for popular music at if it's popular, you'll go buy tickets to go see someone that you heard on the radio, but you're not going to, and obviously this is a generalization, but you go to the Irish pub and the band's playing there, that's you're probably not paying your $10 or $5 or whatever it is to get in. Like there's no cover. They're just playing there. And then, it's not it's a tough slug. I think that's what it is. I think just, we don't appreciate monetarily appreciate live music in our money. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we're bar owners, right? And we would have bands in, and it's like we just don't have the budget for it. I get it. I 100% get it, and it kills me on the performer side to be like, I can only offer you this much money. That sucks. But some people just want to play, and I think I'm at that point. I just want to play. I'm fortunate enough to not have to worry about the money side of that anymore, which is why I got into beer. I just needed something to keep me going. And then back in 2010, when I started brewing, you could just walk into a brewery and get a job. Like there wasn't that many breweries and there wasn't that many people being interested in beer.
And Niagara College didn't exist too either, right?
Yeah, Niagara College didn't exist. True.
Well, I mean, it existed, but the program didn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then my first boss in the brewing world was his name's Simon Cow, and he unfortunately has passed away now, but he played in the band Lindisfarne. So they're from Newcastle in England, and they're like this like folk English band, and they're pretty big, and like people would be like sending him records to sign while we were working. So I think he just took pity on me and he was like, oh man, this poor like little music kid is just looking for something to get him through the day and like pay his bills or whatever. So he hired me, and I didn't even know what a gasket was. I didn't know what a clamp was. I had nothing. But you learn a lot over 10 years, I guess.
Ed's curious if you ever played at a Block 3 music night.
Yeah, we had a little staff band for a little while. We played stuff like I couldn't even remember. So Drew, actually, who used to be our former retail manager, he's a pretty successful musician, Drew Chester. If anyone wants to check him out on Spotify. And we just
His
played
parents,
like
his parents actually owned like a pretty, famous recording studio in Canada. So he's gone kind of back home and started taking that over from them. But like we're back in the 80s and 90s. If there was a album released in Canada, it was most likely recorded there.
yeah, Rush recorded 2 albums at his parents' house.
Yeah.
I think it was Roll the Bones and whatever one came after Roll the Bones.
So like he's told us stories of growing up, and they had like a little cottage on the back lot there where they had to, when Rush came in, they had to go live in the cottage because it was party time in the house for Rush.
What an interesting childhood.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's seen some stuff, I'm sure.
So I think Jen asked, what brewery was it that you started at, Kevin?
Oh, that was Magnata Brewery in Vaughan.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was driving from I was living in Hamilton at the time. So I was driving from Hamilton to Vaughan for $12 an hour. Beautiful. Beautiful times, man. But it's like I wanted a day job that intrigued me, right? If you're gonna do a day job, it might as well be something you're into, right? It might as well be something you're passionate about. So even if I made a little bit more money than I made as being a jazz musician, which is a very small amount of money, it was better. And then I just fell in love with the industry. So here we are.
Yeah, well, that answers. I was going to ask you. So when you started that, did you think 10 years later you'd be here?
I could not have foreseen what's going on now. I actually joke with my wife pretty often, because she bought me my first homebrew kit. Like I had come back from the cruise ship, I was looking for a hobby, and she bought me this homebrew kit, and I made my first batch of beer, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And you start getting on the internet and you start looking at like the forums, and it's like, had she bought me like a humidor, which is another one of my hobbies, I love cigars, like my career could have gone in a drastically different path. But that it hit at the right time, and then I got the gig, and then pursued multiple levels of brewing school after that, and then met up with Graham and the guys at the right point in all of our lives, I think. Yeah. And now I see Graham every day, unfortunately.
I know. It's tough.
There could be worse things.
That's true. It's true.
I mean, yeah, there are worse places to work. We do get free beer. We have fun. We work very hard, but we do have fun.
Well, there has to be some sort of reward to being in the beer industry because it's long hours and low pay.
Yeah.
So I guess the fun part is what makes it work.
Yes.
Graham, if there was one thing you wanted everybody to take away from this chat tonight, what would it be?
I don't know. I think, just kind of, I think we're kind of just excited to kind of showcase some of the stuff that's coming out, especially this on the spontaneous side. I was, when we talked about it, doing this up about a month or two ago, that's one of my goals was to get that out there and kind of get this as a preview for you guys, because I think it's interesting. It's neat. It's something that's really not been seen in Ontario. Like there's been a few kind of spontaneous beers out in Ontario, but not a ton. I would say you could probably count it on 2 hands.
Yeah.
Probably one. And I think that's kind of interesting. So
Certainly is timely because I had Callum Hay on from Halo a little while back, and he was talking about spontaneous beers and how few people are doing them.
Yeah, I mean, I think, realistically, in terms of breweries that actually have a cool ship in Ontario, there's probably there's probably 4 of them.
Yeah, I think it's basically just us, Bellwoods,
Sawdust,
Sawdust,
Sonnen Hill.
and Sonnen. Yeah, Sonnen. But I think it's just us, Bellwoods, and Sawdust that have done released one. Anyways, Sonnen I think just started last year, so
Yeah.
crazy.
So Kevin, if you could go back in time, have a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give him?
Wow. I would probably say try not to take it too seriously. Don't get too worked up about this stuff. It's just beer in the end. Maybe I didn't necessarily need to do all the brewing school that I did, although that helped. And then just be more open to the experiences and the different flavors. Don't try to get too locked into a niche because that's what your brewery does. Just think about what you like and explore that and explore why you like it. There's a lot of times that I was blocked in by, not from block 3 because I'm the guy who makes those creative decisions now, but just think about maybe you don't have to do it that way, and like homebrew more. Try some more stuff out. As much as I don't want to do that now because I got kids and I got a brewery and I got things to do, but just try more combinations of ingredients and see what's up.
Graham, Kevin, on behalf of everybody here at Beers with Bill, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and sharing your story with us. And truly appreciate that. And remind everybody next week, Solly Sullivan from Gateway City Brewing is going to be joining us. And
Are we going off the record again here, Bill, or what?